All right, so we're going to talk about these. So we'll go with the still. Now, the big thing is that with the still, I don't know that I made much change in here, but it's more of the stuff that's on the back side of it.
To set the stage real quick, I've actually forgotten which leader type does the still belong to.
This is the trader. So now we're into the part where it's kind of ew. This is the
Okay.
part that everybody's probably going to be angry about, and I'm ready for it. So
Okay, go
we'll
for it.
get this out of the way. So the still two buff. Um, what I did was I went through and I looked at sort of like what it provides, which is morale. Uh, collecting the I missed one. That should be 90 minutes. Oh,
Oh no.
I didn't just find a bug in my own thing. I didn't do that. Actually, I probably missed it all on my. I probably did it on like one, and then I forgot it on two because I've done that a couple of times. But what I did was so the whiskey that comes out here is well, that's 20 minutes away, but it's pretty high, right? It's a pretty high trade value, and the beer not so much. But they were way off base. I think that the beer. I think that the beer was slightly more than the whiskey when you took into account that there were four of them. I went ahead and balanced those so that the costs are. Yeah, I need to submit a bug ticket for my own to solve on my own because I will forget. Like that's it's 100%.
Yeah.
But so I balanced out what the price versus sort of like what you end up doing. So in order to make the whiskey, you convert three food to ethanol, and then you convert that ethanol into three jugs of whiskey, right? But this one, you're taking three food and you're converting it straight into like craft beer, right? This takes 15 minutes. This takes like 35 minutes. One of these, I think it was actually this one that was superior in terms of like its value, and so I tried to balance these values out a little bit to make sure that the still didn't didn't overcompensate for what it was doing. But yeah, so you can definitely provide base wide water. Um, Now let's see.
While you're looking for the next thing, McGurk419 had a suggestion. So earlier we were talking about adding a crying corner
Uh huh.
facility mod to the game, and he said that actually if we wanted to add another vehicle, maybe for our next blood drive, we could add a wambulance for people
The
for people who
wambulance.
needed the crying corner. So there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. I think we should just have that. We should just have that for anybody who builds the trade depot. Like you build a trade depot and then the ambulance is delivered. Um, because people aren't going to be happy. So I didn't really do much here with the trade depot. It was already one of the most powerful and valuable buildings in the game. But since I was going to do something to the traders that it allows, I did buff it still. So the building itself gives you 500 influence a day now, instead of instead of the 200 that it gave before. So there is that. However, you'll notice where are we at here? Call for traders. So the cooldown is now 90 minutes on these instead of the previous 45. Now you can still get them down. So that means now that since the cooldown is 90 minutes, that means you get one a day, right? So you can call one of each type every day. Now
I mean,
the other great thing
yeah.
is you have characters that can reduce the cooldowns. There are hero perks that reduce cooldowns for radio transmissions, and of course there are outposts that you can claim, which is what we're going to go do right now.
So okay, yeah. So the thing that you were sort of concerned about that the audience might react a little bit negatively to was the idea that originally those traders you could call them in every half hour, but now or was it every half? No, it was every like 45 minutes
It was every
unbuffed.
it was every 45 minutes unbuffed. So I've basically doubled that timer in terms of what the cooldown is, and I doubled the minimum that you can get it down to. So now I've grabbed this radio outpost because right here. right? So minus 20% to most radio cooldowns. So, so this is how you get back to the quote unquote infinite spawn. So those of you who have become used to having like just the ammo trader on call when it's on cooldown, you'll still be able to get that, but you'll have to work for it. You'll have to get characters that help you reduce it. You'll have to make it a full-on strategy instead of it just being sort of the default. Because if I was at 45 minutes and I grabbed that, it would be not too far off just grabbing one of these outposts. It would not be too far off from just having them on call on cooldown anyway. And so we buffed that up a little bit so that that particular strategy. Now that still means you're going to get you get 6 traders available there.
Yeah, I was about to say, so if your strategy with the traders is you want to be able to sell things to them regularly, I imagine that this probably still gives you a ton of access to traders' influence.
Yes,
right? It's specifically if you wanted just constant access to their wares, that you would that this sort of backs it off a little bit.
Yes, exactly. And so for people who play that end game scenario where you got the trade depot and you just got the ammo supplier on cooldown, like you can still get there. It's just going to take some different strategy.
And so this is one of those things. I mean, I remember I got a little bit of a backlash when we rebalanced the Red Talon soldiers a little while back, and I know that watching sort of the audience reaction from that is a little bit of what Joe is anticipating here, because originally when Daybreak first came out, I got so excited about making the Red Talon soldiers that it was just so fun to come up with various ways for them to be powerful that I kind of overdid it, and I made them so powerful that really, I mean, if you're thinking of the game, from a narrative perspective, oh yeah, you want to have an interesting variety of cool characters from different backgrounds.
Right,
but if you're thinking purely from a strategic perspective, it started feeling like, well, what you need is an entire community of Red Talon soldiers, and that was ended up kind of fighting with the story we wanted to tell a little bit. And we didn't want this to be a game about how a bunch of badass military operatives are better than everybody else. We wanted this to be a game about normal people, from a lot of different backgrounds, striving together to survive. And so we decided that what we needed to do was scale back those Red Talon soldiers just a little bit. I mean, we didn't take away any of their power, but what we did was, very reasonably, I think, gave them disadvantages. Said, if you're going to be one of these incredible badasses, you might have a couple of disadvantages in your life too, like all of us do. Like every single person in real life has got some trade-offs. And so we pushed in that direction, and there were a lot of players who were like, hey, you just ruined my Red Talon soldiers. And we had to weather that a little bit. But ultimately, I think the game is better for it,
Well, and, like these are things I can easily adjust, right? These are numbers that we can change if it ends up being bad for the game or, bad for players. But mostly we wanted to sort of, see what would happen if we actually balanced it. And when you take a building that's as powerful as the trade depot is and always has been, and even remotely seem to nerf it, it's always a bad time. So I'm hoping that this leads to a little more game balance throughout. But again, this is a thing that's easily changed. So if it does end up being bad, then we can always change it.
We've seen another suggestion, by the way, in the chat, just to put this in your head. Prox Macintosh and a few other people have suggested that if you wanted to sort of not change what you've done with the trade depot, but still counterbalance it for the trader, that maybe upgrading the forge in some way might be good. I've actually heard that. La Coalition, I think, has made that point to me several times in the past.
Yeah,
too.
The forge and the auto shop have been on my mind for a really long time, because they're sort of like you build them and then you get rid of them, right? And so there are other facilities that I would absolutely love to balance, but I think I kind of have to prove that I didn't just totally destroy things with this before anybody lets me touch anything else.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like you don't want to make too many. Like when you're trying to do something scientifically, you don't want to change everything at once. You have to have
Yep.
things that are controls and things that are variables. So if you change every facility simultaneously, then you just don't even know what worked and what didn't. But if you change a few things, watch them, change a few more things, watch them. It's a much more reasonable way to go, and you can keep things a little bit more stable and a little bit more.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we were going for. And I did notice that, I don't remember who it was, but thank you for the question. I did notice in chat that somebody had asked, like, can you still get it down to 15 minutes? No, that's also doubled. You can get it down to 30. And let me show you why. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and call my favorite trader. We're going to call the ammo trader. Thanks, Chase. Where are we at? Where are they? Where are they? Okay. Oh, they're at my base? Dang. I forgot. I haven't, it's been so long since I played with the trade depot. I forgot that they literally show up inside your base. So you'll notice here that like I can buy pretty much anything that I would ever need. I've got four of the ammo presses. We've got like 3 of these. We've got some really nice guns that are sort of starter guns that will get me down the path. But buying these 3, super easy, right? And then the cooldown itself, nope, it's on the map. Thanks. The cooldown already for the ammo trader is 30 minutes. So like I said, if you really want to devote your time to it, and I put a lot of thought into the numbers that I chose. I wasn't just like, let's double everything. I was like, let's double everything because. And then so you can still, with a little bit of investment in what you're doing, you can still get this down to 30 minutes. It's going to have to be like a 66% decrease, which would be like 3 outposts and then some, but you can still do it. So, and a minor thing, well, maybe not a minor thing, but something that I probably should point out, is when you go in here, of all of your outposts, cell towers and these kinds of things that decrease the radio cooldowns, they also have the largest passive scouting. So to give you an idea exactly how big these passive scouting areas are,
that's half a kilometer.
Yeah, that's okay. Where's my marker? I am at my base. The passive scouting for that tower almost comes all the way to my base. In fact, it probably does come to my base. And so now anything that's coming from that direction, yeah, it's just on the edge of the base right there. So anything that's coming from that direction, now imagine that distance. So if here to here is 500 meters, that means that here to here, anything that's coming from this direction, you're going to get to see in real time. So you can see now there's the feral and there's like all of these things, and once the infestations start going, they'll be telling that it'll be there better. So there are a lot of advantages to grabbing the cell towers, and without spoiling too much, there will be more later. So.
So we do have a question from E5 a Pie Guy who wants to know if all we're doing is adding features in update 30, or if there's also been bug fixes. E5 lists like a bunch of specific fixes that he's looking for, and we can never promise that we're going to do your favorite bugs specifically, but yeah, Joe.
There are always bug fixes in every update that we do. Usually they are posted in our patch notes, the full version. If you're just looking at the ones in the game, we cut the bug fixes out of those just because we run out of space really quickly if we don't. And but the full patch notes can be seen on our website, on our support site, and also on Steam pretty much anytime.
And we're going to be doing, whenever we do drop update 30, that's when I'm going to host a patch note stream where we're going to go over the full patch notes and talk it all through. So you'll be aware of the fixes that we have made.